Yo, what's going on, guys? Winter Kills here, and welcome to the first of many matches to come from a recent 5v5 that our community put together. It was basically a team war. 5 top duelists from Buffalo versus the best 5 duelists, the top 5 duelists in Rochester. Each, own Facebook group. They kind of had like a community poll, and everybody voted for which 5 players they wanted to have on each team. And we all got together on the 26th on a Sunday, and we played it out. It's a $500 total pool. Winning team will win $250, and losing team will lose $250. So $50 ahead, $250 per team, $500 total. And here we are in round 1. We have my friend Colin Goodrich on the left versus Brian Strucheski, I believe is how it's pronounced, from Crush Cards on the right. So Rochester on the right and Buffalo on the left. That's how it's going to be going forward for all these 5v5 matches. So yeah, let's hop right into this one here. So my friend Colin actually did win Diral. He did go first, but he opened up so poorly that he literally had to pass. I don't think Brian was able to do too much either with his particular hand. I think there might have been one hand trap. It might have been an Ash on the Fateful, preventing him from getting to something like the Wandering Griffin Rider. So he's going to be... he is playing the Zombie Punk Adventurer deck, obviously, versus Swordsoul here. So getting the Adventure engine rolling, I imagine, would have helped out a lot more, but not really able to get access to too much engine, unfortunately. Just getting the Mizuki on board, so, because, I mean, the Mizuki on board or in hand is not going to be as valuable as the card can be in grave, obviously being a monster born for zombies just by banishing it. And... we're also going to see a droplet here. We're going to see Colin finally draw into a Tenyi. I know there's a massive glare on the bottom left, and it's going to be like that. I do apologize. This is a completely different area than I've ever streamed or filmed in. It's very, like, on-the-spot thing, so bear with me. Yeah, it shouldn't be too much of an issue, though, because I think any cards that we would need to see in the grave, we will see at some point. So, yeah. Brian is going to respond here with a droplet, sending off the Mizuki to attempt to negate this Chi-Zhao. He already can, like, assume that, with the extremely terrible opening that he had, he's really desperate to try to get to any sort of engine, and Chi-Zhao will bridge that gap, so you kind of got to fire this droplet here to keep him off of, like, a Mo-Yi or a Taya or a Long Yun. Definitely the smart move there, especially with this Monk on board, the Adara and Grave. Going to be live to add back the Ashina for a Long Yun play, or any Taya play right now is going to be good, or hell, you could even go for a Mo-Yi, Adara add back Ashina, normal Mo-Yi reveal Ashina, right, get token, and go into like a Boxia, or could go into a copy of Draco Berserker, which is pretty good to contest the Adventure engine, considering that you can just banish the Griffin Riders, or the Griffin Rider when he tries to activate it. And so we're going to see the Adara add back the Ashina. Vishuda's going to bounce the token. So I'll have to go ahead and, restart essentially next turn. We're going to see him swinging with 14 from Chi-Zhao because it's half by droplet, and 1,000 from Monk. And they'll set 2 and pass. So yeah, like I said, Colin went first. The stream started late. I had to restart the stream a couple times, so that's why you guys didn't see his first turn, but he literally just passed, unfortunately. So we didn't really miss much there. But yeah, I was able to draw into, I think it was like an Ashina, which would made the hand playable. And I think he had Adara was the only, like, sort of engine card he had. No reason to really commit it to the field. So yeah, drawing the Ashina was kind of like a godsend there. So I'll pass turn over to Brian, and he's going to go ahead and start with the Fateful to go ahead and search and discard for, a monster, obviously. Also, this is like traditional, Iron Man fashion. So each player had a player on their left and right that they could talk to, for like coaching, kind of like how Iron Mans typically have. Those are just the rules that we agreed on. So the matches do go a little bit longer because, there's a little bit of extra strategy that can be discussed on the sides. Kind of like similar to how like a 3v3 tournament would work. So we're going to see him get access to the Enchantress, obviously, by adding it, discarding it, activating Enchantress to go ahead and get, or activating the Enchantress to the grave to get right. Right gets token, and has the Draco back available now on the summon of the token. And then this is nice because it can get be a form of spot removal here. Fateful can also now protect the token from battle for whatever that's worth. But Brian not really in the best position right now. Neither duelist really opening super strong here. Like sort of just fragments of their engine. Like Brian just seeing the Mizuki and just sort of relying on this one Fateful here to keep things, you know, going, to have something to do each turn. But Colin definitely able to recover here a little bit thanks to those 10E cards. We know he still has Ashina in hand, which can generate a lot of advantage next turn. Also, apologies for the camera shake, but also this was live streamed on my Twitch, so if you guys want to watch the whole VOD with the raw audio, you can. Link to my Twitch down in the description. It should still be on there. But I did want to upload these matches just for people that don't know I have a Twitch or just don't like Twitch in general and just want to see the condensed matches with commentary. You know, this is what that's for. So, see Brian, just go to the battle phase here, swing over the monk for 1,000 damage. So it'll put Colin down to 33 to his 56. And yeah, no access to the Griffin Rider here. So really not able to apply too much pressure. Just reading the right engrave. Well, yeah, this was a super fun event, and there will be a run back at a later date. I don't want to spoil how the whole thing went, but there is going to be a run back. If you watched on Twitch, you know what the outcome was. Try not to spoil it in the comments for those watching it for the first time. So now we're going to see Brian commit the normal summon here in main phase 2 of the Xiamen to go ahead and attempt to play around the blackout here. So definitely smart using the Draco back to clear the Chi-Jiao, battle phase to clear the monk. So again, totally playing around blackout here. Blackout would have been very devastating there had he not tried to play around it, clearing the Xiamen, clearing the token. He will be able to Synchro 7 into the Shooting Riser, and he also opted not to use Xiamen's effect to go ahead and pay 600 to search a punk. So that might give away some information as to what's possibly in his hand. Maybe the main search target. Again, I don't know what Brian's deck list is. I know they've covered it on their channel. I think I've seen a zombie deck profile on their channel. I don't know if it's the same exact list. I don't know what the ratios are for punk cards. But I assume there's a good reason for why he obviously didn't choose to use the Xiamen there. Now going into the Shooting Riser Dragon. Luckily for Colin, I don't think there's a main decked token collector, which I mean makes sense. I don't really think it's correct to main collector, but he does main deck the Necroworld Banshee since it is a zombie deck, and Banshee is only a slight inconvenience to Swordsoul. It really only turns off Chi-Jiao, and I think Sinister. Chi-Jiao, Sinister, and I'm definitely missing one more. I can't really think of what it is. But Boxy is a hell of a card, which is a generic synchro, which can address Zombie World. So Shooting Riser will be dropped down by 4 levels, putting it to a level 3 tuner, which is normally a pretty good thing to have, but if only he had access to Griffin Rider early in the turn, he could have had it on board and then synchroed into Baron, and then had that ability to have the removal, the Omni Negate, as well as the extension in the standby phase by being able to revive things. So we're going to see him attempt to go Mizuki here to revive Necroworld Banshee, and that could have gone for another Synchro 7 or possibly a Halka Fireaxe play, but a main decked DD Crow coming down to hit the Banshee there. Really, really strong. Basically trading 2 cards there, the Mizuki and the Banshee, just for the 1 Crow. Pretty good trade there, I would say. Now we're going to see Colin go ahead and special summon the Ashina, link for a monk, and then activate Ashina's effect in the graveyard to go ahead and special summon a 10E from the deck. He's going to go ahead and grab a Otara. Chi-Jiao obviously no longer in the grave because it was bounced back via the Draco back, so I was going to say there's no Shaman line there to be able to discard and bring it back, but he will link for a second monk. I think this is actually the 3rd monk now, so out of monks at this point. The grind game is severely limited. And just doesn't look like he's seen any Swordsoul cards yet, and if he has, he's possibly just holding it. Might have been the draw for turn, but just holding it currently. And it looks like there may be a response here on summon of the monk. Not entirely sure. Also, I will be looking into streaming live events like this much more often, possibly streaming locals, because I did buy some new gear to be able to do that. The main, like, I was gonna do the live stream with commentary over this, but I didn't have a long enough HDMI cable to go from the camera to the laptop that I was streaming off of, to be able to be far enough away to do the commentary without players hearing me. But I just bought a 100-foot HDMI cable, so now I'm definitely strapped and ready to do that. And we'll be doing it for the run back, as well as, like, I might do some test streams for locals as well too. So be on the lookout for that. Some new things coming to the Twitch channel, which I know I've been pretty absent from for the past couple months, but it just is what it is. So we're going to see him add back the Vishuda, and then we're going to see him activate the Shaman here. And it looks like we're going to see Brian fire a Veiler on the Shaman, attempting to bring back the Monk, because the Monk Shaman is a pretty good combo because of the destruction effect from Shaman. And he'll also make the Vishuda live. So if this does resolve here, if the Veiler does resolve, he can then go ahead and, you know, well, let's say he had a way to stop the Veiler, right? Then he can get Monk on board. Shaman can clear a card when the Monk declares an attack. And then you have Vishuda also being able to clear the Shooting Riser Dragon too, basically leaving him with not many cards in rotation. But I believe Colin does have a response here, hence the thinking here at this point. And I think one of the only cards you could possibly have at this point would be either Blackout or a copy of Droplet to be able to essentially dodge the Veiler. It's not a very good play, but it is the play they need to be able to make right now at this point to keep going and not just auto lose to a Veiler here. So just going to continue to think, running it by both the other players on either side. And yeah, it looks like they will activate the Droplet. And also, one thing I think I also forgot to point out too, and you know, also getting the Monk back on board makes the Vishuda live, which is important. Can get rid of Fateful, but in this case, we're going to opt to choose to clear the Shooting Riser Dragon, and then swing in for 1,000, set another card, and I think that will probably do it for their turn. But one thing I wanted to mention too is that the internet here was not good. So the stream had to be in 720, very low bit rate, for anybody that knows what that means. And if I didn't bring an Ethernet cable, there would not have been a stream. So shout out to that Ethernet cable that I was smart enough to bring. So yeah, if that's anyone's wondering, like if the frame rate gets a little choppy, it's just like the stream dropping frames, which did happen quite a bit over the course of the stream. But yeah, luckily I'm happy with how well it turned out. You know, with such little short notice that I had to set everything up. I didn't really get a chance to do a test stream like this there, although I probably could have. I just didn't think about it. The only thing I think I would have liked to know ahead of time was the internet situation and also the glare situation. But other than that, I think everything was perfect for a little time I had to set up. So we're gonna see Fateful. Again, go ahead and search out and discard an Enchantress, and the third and final right getting activated here as this game one continues to grind out, and there is no time limit here, obviously. You know, some money is on the line, and we opted to not use a timer, like, you know, 45 minute timer as a standard in regular play. So yeah, some of these matches will run long, and this is also sped up by 150% too. So, like how I normally speed up feature matches. So we're going to see Brian now activate Deer Note, revealing Foxy. And as you could imagine, as we talked about earlier, when he normaled the Xiamen and chose not to activate its effect, you know, now we kind of know why. So it looks like on the summon of Deer Note, after he discards the Foxy, we're going to see Colin go ahead and shotgun the Blackout here. And my friend Adam now is telling him, you know, you should have done that. There's no reason to... you know, go for the Blackout there. I mean, the card was already flipped at this point. So there's really no going back at this point. And they accepted that, both sides. So the Blackout was flipped here. Whether it was the best point to flip the Blackout is another thing. But now if the Foxy Tune gets cleared, or the Deer Note gets cleared rather, The Deer Note can revive the Foxy Tune or the Xiamen. And that gets him more plays. And now that Shooting Riser is also back in the extra deck too, you got to watch out, because if the Deer Note revives the Xiamen, you can sync her with a token into Shooting Riser to get another Foolish Burial and, you know, a Tuner Body on field, which is a lot. But now they're just trying to figure out the most optimal blackout targets. I mean, I don't really see why it was 100% incorrect necessarily to blackout there. But yeah, I mean, it's not, they definitely could have waited, I guess. But yeah, we're going to see Colin draw an Adhara for turn and summon it and pass. And then, yeah, hitting Brian's top deck here was pretty hilarious. And it actually ends up being what they needed to actually win the game here, because we're going to see him Tribute Summon for Artifact Scythe. And that's going to trigger Deer Note. Deer Note can go ahead and revive the Foxy Tune. And especially with Colin only being at 100 or 1,000 life points right now, yeah, the Imperm's not going to do a whole lot there, and we're just going to go into game 2. Also, quick shout out to Imperium Duelist. If you guys are interested in picking up amazing playmats, sleeves, deck boxes, dice, and more, check them out at the link below, and don't forget to use my discount code WinnerKills10 off at checkout, and save 10% off your entire order. And if you guys are buying anything on TCG Player, please do not forget to use my affiliate link down in the description below. Yeah, because anytime you guys shop and check out using that link, a small bit of the revenue from your purchase will go right back into the channel and helps out a ton. So Colin will choose to go first here in game 2, and he will go ahead and actually see Swordsoul cards, which he did not see, I think, a single Swordsoul card in the main deck game 1, which is extremely unfortunate, just not able to draw anything turn after turn. I don't know exactly how many turns passed, but, you know, going that many turns without seeing a Swordsoul card or without seeing a Pot of Desires is extremely unfortunate. I mean, neither player really did anything that game. It was just like a super simplified game state the entire time. But we're going to see Colin here lead with the Longyun, get token, activate Vessel now, go ahead and send an Ashina to add an Adhara. And will be interesting to see here as how much Nibiru will be respected. Obviously, they're past the token collector checkpoint because, I mean, no, you definitely are past the token collector checkpoint here, just because, like, you could argue, you could, because I know some people like to wait, like, until there's 2 tokens on field. Like, they'll wait till they go, like, Longyun, discard, summon token, normal Moyi, reveal, summon token, so they can make a Baron and then a Chi-Jiao. Without like playing into Nibiru completely, so they get more value out of the collector. But you know, with them being able to threaten a Baron that early, I mean, you could just waste the collector instead of, you could get more value out of it now and then put the Swordsoul player on outing it. But he did add the Adhara, so even if he did collector there, he could have normaled the Adhara and gone into a Yazi and out the collector that way. So that would have been all fine, because he did add, again, the Adhara off the Vessel. Now we're going to see a Ecclesia. I know, again, I apologize for the glare. It's just like those last 2 zones to the bottom and the graveyard were just like awful glare. So he will go and successfully resolve the Moyi. No collector and no Nibiru at this point either. Opting to go for the draw 2 play. You know, it's game 2, you're down a game, this is a game that you obviously have to win. You know, Brian's in a good position, obviously taking game 1's the most important game to win, because then, you know, you put it in your opponent's hand to take the next one, and then go to game 3, otherwise you just win the match, obviously. So, like, you gotta go for the, I personally, like, I don't know if I would have gone necessary for this play, especially if I had, like, already a good amount of interruptions in hand, like that I had hard drawn, like side deck cards like Anti-Spell or whatever it may be, or certain hand traps. This is just, like, a combo that, like, ever since, like, Nibiru's gained a little bit more popularity in the format, which I don't really know how, it's hard to gauge how popular a hand trap truly is, from event to event, because, like, there's that time in between where your only data is sort of like online play. So yeah, I mean, not respecting the Nibiru there, definitely paying off, getting the draw, search, draw, or draw, search, or search, draw, if you want to deck them before you draw. So we'll go ahead and set 1, ending on the Qixing, the Chi-Jiao in 1 set, which I think is the blackout. And also, Qixing is still a very strong card to make here, solely because he has, or is playing against a deck that runs the Adventure Engine, and Chi-Xing completely answers that. Also, you might argue that he played into the Nibiru very heavily there, but he did resolve a Vessel, and he did have Ashen Engrave, which he did not use. He did have Adhara in hand. So even if he got Nibiru through all of that, he still could have gone for a Shaman play to bring back the Chi-Xing, which still answers the Adventure Engine, or still could have made another level 8 Synchro like Berserker, or even gone for another Chi-Jiao if he had valued that form of interruption and still have the Blackout live. Yeah, so I can see why. You really weren't super afraid of Nibiru there. You just put up a better board, draw more cards in the process, right? See more side deck cards. So if something like this happens, right, where the opponent does have the Droplet, which does answer just the monsters, you know, you do have those other cards, those other 2 cards that you drew into to potentially be able to give yourself more interruptions in different places, because that's always a valuable thing. It's one thing I learned from playing Speedroid. One thing that deck did very well is it could put up interruptions in multiple places, not just, you know, setting up a big board that could get dropleted to death or Dark Ruler, but you'd also have things in the back line that you could search throughout the combo, like Duplicate, or in this case Blackout, and then any hand traps that you see off of your Mo Eater Chi-Xing draws, or your Fukimadoshi Piper reveals, etc., right? So that's that layered form of interruptions that aren't going to lose to outright just to 1 card. So we will see Brian lead with the right pitching, or going for right, chaining Droplet, sending off the right, and an Enchantress to hit obviously both Chi-Jiao and Chi-Xing. Chi-Xing being in defense here actually kind of matters because it has 2300 defense. And Droplet only halves attack. And also you put the Enchantress in the grave to be able to search follow-up. Although he, you know, could have left it in hand. And pitch something else, because it could act as an extender in hand, but, you know, he might not necessarily need that here. But now already being down a couple cards from the Droplet, and still having to deal with potential hand traps and a Blackout. It looks like he will go ahead and Blackout here, it looks like on resolution. So taking some time to think about that, but I think that's probably correct, because you keep them off Fateful, which I think they were able to determine last game that he only plays 1 Fateful, or I think they might find that out this game, that information, because I think the Fateful pretty much stayed on the field the entire last game. But yeah, Enchantress being able to search right for follow-up. And, I mean, if Chi-Xing doesn't get cleared, that's going to apply a lot of pressure next turn. So, four cards in hand, it looks like. Colin, I believe, also has 4 cards in hand. I know one of them's a DD Crow. I think I saw a DD Crow in the hand. Also, one thing that would be really cool for future streams like this is if I could set up face cams for both players. But that requires a lot of extra hardware. Like, a lot of extra hardware. I mean, I definitely could do it, but it requires so much more. So much more setup than I care to explain. So we will see Brian go ahead and start with a Foxy Tune here. And awaiting a response from Colin. Looks like there will be no response. Discarding a zombie monster that I actually do not know the name of. I think this is new out of Dimension Force. I'm actually just going to open up Dueling Book on another monitor really quick. And see if I can find the name of that card. Monster effect, zombie. I'm not sure, but I know it's from Dimension Force. It looks very familiar. I think it's Changshi the Spirit Owl. I think that's what it is. I could be wrong though. But you will discard that off Foxy Tune to summon Xiamen. And it looks like he will go ahead and use Xiamen now. Paying 600 as cost to go ahead and add a punk monster from the deck to the hand. And Changshi says, if that is what it is, because I'm pretty sure that's what it is, But it says during your main phase, you can send one zombie monster from your hand or deck to the graveyard. So that's just an on-field effect. If this card is banished, you can banish one zombie monster in your graveyard, special summon this card, but place it on the bottom of the deck when it leaves the field. You can only use each effect of Chang'Chi, the Spirit Owl, once per turn. So it's like a nice little extender if it gets banished in grave. I don't know how this deck functions. I don't know what how it's supposed to work. I don't know what the deck's end board is, but very interesting. So the Foxy, or the Z will resolve, and then we're going to see Brian normal summon Enchantress, so going for a Link 2 or a Synchro 6, and this is Immortal Dragon, I believe. And I'm going to go ahead and pull this card up as well, because this card is also new from Dimension Force, level 6 Dark Zombie Tuner Synchro. Says, during your main phase, you can send one zombie monster from your deck to the graveyard, and if you do, this card's level becomes the difference in the original levels of that monster and this card. When your zombie monster is destroyed by battle while this card's in your graveyard, you can special summon this card but banish when it leaves the field. So it's a floater, and it's also just a Foolish Burial, which is pretty strong. So the Z will resolve, and then he's going to go ahead and Ash the Immortal Dragon, and that looks like it's going to be a pretty strong place to hand trap there. I mean, I guess it's fair against a rogue deck where, like, there's an engine of the deck that you don't really fully understand, or, like, you know, what the choke point of it is, where it's like you let the Xiamen resolve, because you could Ash the Xiamen. There is a world where you could possibly Ash that. Maybe not in this deck, though, because, like, it's like, what engine's more important, right? But, you know, Ashing the Immortal Dragon seems pretty strong, because that could have dumped Mizuki, and also Immortal Dragon's a tuner too. That would have made it a level 2 tuner, I believe. Yeah, pretty good card. So Colin is going to be able to extend here. I think normal summon the Adhara, and then linking into Monk, and then Ashina effect, summon out the Vishuddha, and then Adara will add back the Ashina, and then we're going to see him link the Vishuddha for a second Monk, so we can get the bounce here before going into the Shaman. And then we're going to see him discard Anti-Spell, since it's probably no longer needed at this point, reveal, get token, and Synchro here into probably a Chi-Jiao. And I think that's honestly, or we're just going to go for Draco Berserker here. I think that's just going to be game. He'll get the draw and just go battle phase game. And it looks like that will be it. And we are on to a game 3 where we will see Brian go first. So tied up 1 apiece here. Who will take the first match? Will it be Buffalo or will it be Rochester? So we will see Brian start with a Zombie World, which I guess I would assume only acts as a Floodgates sometimes, but also is like kind of an extender. So Brian's unfortunately not going to open up well either here in game 2. Zombie World with a basically T set, one of which is an anti-spell, which will trade, I guess, with the Harpy's Feather Duster in Colin's hand. But does have plenty of gas. I see Ecclesia and Tenny's Ecclesia Longyun, discarding, I believe, an Adhara. Get token, and at this point, past the token collector. I mean, I guess, like, collector is just not good here in any of these situations, because you still have Ecclesia to synchro with the Longyun. That's one important thing about Ecclesia, is not only is it, like, an extender, like, that can just be other names, it's just a tuner body in of its own, which is really important for playing under things like collector. So we will see him synchro 10 into Baron. I know there is a massive glare on it, and it literally looks like a light, like emitting from the table. But that is Baron to Fleur, and obviously Longyun will burn 12. So having access to the removal, the Omni Negate here, very, very strong. And it looks like he will opt to use Baron to clear the Zombie World, activate Ecclesia. Ecclesia will resolve. And go ahead and summon Taya. Taya effect, go ahead and banish Longyun. Get token, Otter, add back Longyun. Go for Boxia, chainlink 1 Boxia, chainlink 2 Taya. So this is going to set up a Moyi play. It's going to go and spin back the 2, the anti-spell, and the set, and then set the Harpy's Feather Duster, get Moyi back on field, get token, synchro again, And this is going to for Cheech out, and that's just going to be game right there. So we will see Colin take it 2-1 there after a very unfortunate game 1. Brian seeing an unfortunate, very unfortunate game 3 there. Seeing Deer Note again, super unlucky. But yeah, Buffalo will take it there, up 1 over Rochester. Stay tuned for match 2. And then last but not least, a huge shout out goes to our Divine Level channel members, who are Tweeter0226, Ponystar, Calax84, Justin Lamb, and 88 Cyber. Thank you guys so much as always for extremely kind and generous support of the channel.